We've got two NBA star playoff performers and not to mention some MLB and NFL in this week's top 5 hottest sports cards.
My name is Geoff Wilson. By day, I invest in tech companies, and at night, I invest in sports cards. Join me on my journey to profit from the hobby we all love.
Happy Top 5 Tuesday, everybody. This is Hammer, Director of Operations here at Sports Card Investor, and I will be filling in for Geoff this week. And with that being said, boy, was this weekend filled with some action-packed sports, I must say, and some quality sports games at that. We had 2 Game 7s in the NBA playoffs, not to mention we've got some Stanley Cup playoffs going on. We got baseball that's in full swing, and also some Euros for those soccer fans out there. So this is a great time to be watching sports and also looking into sports cards in particular. This episode of Sports Card Investor is brought to you by eBay, your #1 spot for cards and collectibles. With the largest inventory of sports cards from basketball to soccer and buyers from all over the globe, eBay is the leading place to buy, sell, and invest your sports cards. Now let's get into this week's top 5. Starting our list with number 5 is one of the hottest players in all of sports right now, Kansas City Chiefs star quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Now, even though we're in the off-season, football collectors may be already starting to gear toward the upcoming season. Patrick Mahomes already has a Super Bowl under his belt and also has a most valuable player. Now, unfortunately, he lost last year's Super Bowl to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But if you look at our popular card charts, football collectors are already starting to gear up for another potential Super Bowl run of Patrick Mahomes. If you look here at his 2017 Optic Base PSA 10, a month ago, it was going for $1,487. So with that being said, over the course of 30 days, it's been slowly but surely picking up steam and is now going for $2,125, which is a 42.9% increase. So this can give you an idea of where football collectors' heads are at right now, coming into the new season, and maybe thinking that Patrick Mahomes can add a second Super Bowl ring into his accolades. Number 4 on this week's list is Chris Middleton, small forward for the Milwaukee Bucks. So this is a guy who over the past few seasons has been looked at critically as a guy who's not able to perform well in the playoffs or when the stage is at its biggest. And some people have even contributed that to some of Giannis's problems within the postseason for the Milwaukee Bucks. But over this past week, collectors might be starting to change that narrative after seeing what Chris Middleton was able to do against the Brooklyn Nets. He averaged 24 points over the span of that series against the Brooklyn Nets and was able to knock down 23 points in that big Game 7 over this past weekend to send the Nets packing and to send the Bucks moving on into the next round of the playoffs. So if you see roughly 2 weeks ago, you could see this card was going for about $105.50. And over the course of his series against the Nets and him being able to knock down big shots when need and show that he does have a little bit of that clutch gene, it was able to continue to increase and now is up to about $170. So over that 14-day span, we've seen a 61.1% price increase on Chris Middleton's cards. And one thing that I like to point out with particular guys like him is population report. If you see here, his PSA 10 population is only a pop of 222. So basketball collectors who may now be flocking to Chris Middleton are starting to realize, wow, he doesn't have that many graded PSA 10 rookies, or specifically with Prism. So with that being said, I'm really looking forward to see what Chris Middleton can do in this next series and if he can be able to knock down big shots in really big time moments. And this may cause more basketball collectors to continue to cause an uptick in his card prices. Number 3 on this week's list is one of the most anticipated baseball prospects, shortstop for the Tampa Bay Rays, Wander Franco. Now, for those of you who are wondering, Franco is the #1 ranked prospect in all of baseball, so collectors and fans have been heavily anticipating his chance to finally play at the big league level. Well, over this past weekend, Wander Franco finally got the call that he's going to be able to play with the big league club and have his first crack at some major league pitching. So, if you look at our popular card charts for Wander Franco's 2019 Bowman Paper Prospects PSA 10, you could see that this news over the past weekend caused a reaction in his card market. Now, as you see, roughly 3 days ago, this card was going for about $66. And once that news broke that he's finally going to get his chance to play with the Rays in the big club, it's jumped up from $119 and now $122.50, which is an 85.6% increase in only 3 days. So one thing that this tells you is that maybe old or new collectors are starting to understand that he is going to get an opportunity, so now is their time to buy. And the one thing I find fascinating is if you look at the population report on this card isn't even the chrome prospect, it's the paper prospect. There's over 5,000 of this card in a PSA 10. And that goes to show how many collectors and baseball fans really think he's going to be one of the next top players. And that's one thing I like to use when having an idea of how much hype is around a particular player, especially in baseball, before he gets that chance to play at the big league level. For number 2, we're going to stay local and go with the Atlanta Hawks shooting guard, Kevin Huerter. Over the past weekend, this guy had a tremendous game against the 76ers, and specifically in Game 7, dropping 27 points and just 18 shots alone. So this was a guy that really made a huge impact this series, and they were able to upset the top seed Philadelphia 76ers thanks to Kevin Huerter's play. Now, if you look at his Prism 2018 base, and the reason why we're looking at his Prism 2018 base is because this is the year he got drafted, which was a pretty good draft class. You had guys like Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, Trae Young, who was his teammate, and even guys like Michael Porter Jr. So Huerter being drafted with the 19th overall pick that year, you can maybe understand how he kind of got lost in the shuffle with some of those top names that were drafted from that class. But if you look at his card charts, roughly, 30 days ago, you could buy his Prism base rookie PSA 10 for only $31. So over the course of the playoffs and over the course of Huerter being able to shoot the lights out and really just turn heads at his ability to be able to shoot and even play some decent defense has caused his card to get more attention. And over the course of the month, you've seen this now up to about $60, which is a 91.2% increase over the course of 30 days. So this goes to show you that if there's a player who necessarily isn't all that popular, but can come out and shoot the lights out and play well, you will see that card collectors will begin to flock toward him. And what gives you an inclination that he's not that popular of a player is the fact that there's less than 100 PSA 10s that are currently out there of him in a base Prism rookie. So that can give you an idea of how good he was during the season, or at least how desired he was throughout the season. Taking the number 1 spot in our top 5 this week is Los Angeles Clippers wing Terence Mann. Terence Mann has been a little bit under the radar. He was a guy who was drafted 48th overall in the 2019 draft with guys like Zion and Ja. So you can imagine he was a guy who necessarily wasn't looked at. But it wasn't until recently that he started to get some real eyeballs at him and some real recognition. And this is based off of last week's performance against the Utah Jazz, where he had 39 points and was able to help contribute to them advancing to the next round and sending home the Utah Jazz. So, from a card market's perspective, when you have a guy like that who can come in and make a big splash on national television on a prime time stage, that's always going to turn card collectors' heads. Now, if we look at his 2019 Prism base rookie, just roughly a few days ago on the 17th, you could see this going for $49.97. And over the course of him having that big game and having the recognition of putting up 39 points in that elimination game, sending the Jazz home, you see a massive spike of 122%, which is crazy over a span of 3 days. And now it's going for about $110. So this goes to show that anybody can have a big performance, and that's going to have card collectors itching to potentially go after their cards. Now, when you do see one-off performances like this, you might expect this guy's cards to come down. But with that being said, I'm going to be keeping an eye on his cards as the Clippers progress throughout the playoffs, and if he can continue to be a vocal point of the Clippers offense. I really hope you enjoyed this week's top 5. With the couple playoff performers that we see in this week's top 5, it really goes to show you how important playing those big games and performing on the big stage can really be for a sports card and a player's sports card market. So I'd love to hear your opinions or thoughts about our top 5, and particularly those 2 players that you saw within the top 5 that are really performing well in the playoffs this season. Now, if you haven't had a chance yet, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. We are very, very close to 100,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel, and none of that would be possible without you guys. So please, if you haven't had a chance yet, hit that subscription and hit that bell icon so we can get to that 100,000 followers and continue to invite sports card collectors into our community. So all of our charts for this week's episode were brought to you by our Market Movers card pricing data tool, and we're happy to share the release of our Market Movers card pricing app. Go to the App Store on your phone and search Market Movers to download. You can find it in iOS as well as Android. So this is going to allow you, once you download, to search our entire database of sports cards a few times a day so you can try it out for yourself. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you on our next episode.